Hi, Amy.
Abby.
Last night was Before the 90 Days, Season 7, Episode 18. Are you ready?
Yep.
I have 3 notes. Before we begin, please
Yes.
rate us, follow us on whatever platform you choose to listen to the podcast. And if you prefer to watch our podcast, please do so on YouTube. Head over to our channel at 90 Day Fiancé Honestly. And lastly, our subscriber-only content has launched. Please join us for an in-depth discussion of Season 2 of The Last Resort. This show is only available through Apple and Spotify. Okay, it's time to do our last show of 2024. Woohoo!
Don't we have one tomorrow?
Yes, but that's a subscriber-only show.
Okay. Just making sure that I wasn't somehow lost in my timeline.
Face.
Yeah,
So-
that's
Let's start with Magda and Joe. It is time for a romantic getaway in the Polish mountainside, also known as the mountains, a la Joe, mountains.
I'm so glad you caught that too, because I made a note of it.
It was driving me batty.
For
What is
someone,
this?
go ahead.
What is it with this guy and consonants? No
It's-
D's, no T's.
Late-
Magda, mountain.
And he can say it.
Can he?
Yes, he has said her name, like her actual name, several times.
But not in this episode. Oh no. Magda, Magda, Magda.
I think he said it once when she got mad, but otherwise, one of my other comments was, for not saying her name correctly, he really does say it a lot. Drove me nuts.
It drives me nuts. And I have a feeling if he could just say Magda's name correctly once, just once to her face, because I'm not noticing it all. You may have a different opinion, and I'm sure perhaps he does it on occasion, but I don't hear it. But if he did it correctly, do you think maybe that would show her that he has some respect for her and maybe she'd be willing to be intimate with him? But no. I'm just going to keep saying Magna, Magna, Magna.
And it's not a difficult name.
I know. It's not like it has 17 syllables. It doesn't have any difficult vowels. It's just a bloody D. Come on, man.
So infuriating. This guy's a mess.
I would like to start off by asking you a personal question, Amy.
Yes, please.
Are you ready?
Yes.
What is your ideal date? What does that look like?
I think my ideal date would begin with, depending on the weather. So let's just say it's a beautiful fall day. So we go for a nice little hike, and then we stop and we have, some charcuterie, maybe some wine or some Manhattans, followed by a heftier dinner, and then, perhaps some regular sex.
Regular?
Regular.
How mundane. How mundane.
Well, that I really struggled to say that out loud, because the fact that I have to specify regular vaginal sex, especially for this episode, is hysterical and awful.
Did you
Yeah.
have the same reaction that I did when Joe said his ideal date is comprised of one thing, and that
Right.
one thing is anal?
Yeah, and they haven't even had sex yet.
It's such a simple idea. It's so truly romantic, isn't it?
He's so disgusting. If
Does
a
he?
guy who I haven't even slept with yet came out with that, I would be like, well, that's 100% something that you're not getting. But I did appreciate Magda's response when she says, well, you can have it when you let me peg you. Not in those words, but that's
Yes.
what she said.
That was a sentiment. Yeah, I know. Good for her. His ideal date, wow, that really threw me for a loop. I was thinking he would say something like dinner, something romantic, something heartfelt.
How about spending time with you?
How about trying to impress your girlfriend with the fact that you actually want to know her as a human being, not just use her as a sexual machine?
I would have said product. That's what's in my
Ew.
head, but it was just so gross, and it really shows you exactly what his mind frame is.
And in contrast to this ugliness, because it was very harsh, they're in these mountains. It's completely gorgeous. It's like a fairy tale storybook location.
Beautiful. Yet again.
Yeah. And when they arrive, Joe is tasked with lighting the fire to get the hot tub hot. because this is what Magda has been looking forward to all day long.
Hang on,
Getting into the hot tub.
before we get there,
Yeah, sure.
as they're driving up, what do they see? Cows. They see cows. And what is his commentary? What did he say? Do you remember?
I could milk that one. It did not have udders. Did you notice that? I was like, how are you planning to milk that? I believe that's a bull, sir.
Maybe that was the point. But it just adds more credence to the fact that he's just gross.
Crude, crass.
Yeah.
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 Totally.
Okay, anyway, back to the hot tub.
May I proceed? Let's proceed. He's tasked with this one thing. Magda goes out to do her own chore, which is to walk the dog. But while he is alone, Joe decides to talk to his friend back home on his video chat. And this is a discussion about the fact that Joe has yet to tell Magda about his friend Jill, who he used to date. This will most certainly cause an issue, a problem for Magda, because she does not believe that you should be friends with any exes whatsoever. Oh, side note, the friend also calls Magda Magna, probably because Joe has said it so many times that now everybody else believes that that's her real name.
Honestly, had I not been watching the show with the subtitles, I don't think I ever would have, or not just the subtitles, but, just watching the show and seeing what her name is. I don't think I ever would have picked up that her name was Magda. Just based on how he says it constantly, could have fooled me.
Anyway, he devotes so much time to talking to his friend on the phone that, of course, he neglects his work, which is to keep the fire going. So by the time Magda gets home from her walk with the dog and it's time to finally jump into the hot tub, which, as I said before, is her highlight of the whole thing of them being there, the water is cold. I felt like the reason why I'm harping on this is because I feel like this encapsulates Joe very well, that you set him one thing to do, one adult task, and he totally neglects it because he gets distracted by something else. He's a kid. He's an adolescent at heart. And he doesn't take it seriously. And then this one thing that he knows his girlfriend has been looking forward to, is really, really hopeful, really excited about. He can't even give her this one thing that is so simple.
I hadn't noticed that it had gone out or that he didn't turn it on in time. So I actually started researching how long it takes to heat up a hot tub. So
by wood.
If it's gas.
It was wood. It was wood fired.
Let me finish.
I'm sorry.
If it's gas, 3 to 12 hours. But if it's wood, it's 1.5 to 4 hours.
Are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. I had no idea. Fascinating.
Yeah, that was my research for this episode. So how long was she walking the dog for? Because maybe she set him up for failure without meaning to.
She was out for half an hour.
So that's not long enough.
No, but it did take longer than half an hour because there was the changing and the getting ready, and then they were in the hot tub for a very long time. It got dark while they were in there. So that would have been enough time for it to get up to an adequate temperature. I feel like we're talking a little bit too much about temperatures and hot tubs and water.
Yeah, sorry. That's just what I got fixated on. I want to go back to the conversation with his friend.
Yeah.
When he was saying, I haven't told her about Jill yet. It's going to be an issue. And his friend said, don't be stupid, Joey. And what does he do?
He be stupid.
Mm-hmm.
He be's real stupid.
Yes. Okay. Back to where we were.
Yeah. So they jump into the hot tub. It's cold, not fun, not romantic, not the hot tub that Magda was looking forward to. Things warm up somewhat because they start this very open mouth and a lot of kissing. Okay. It's clear where things are going. And the next morning, if we can move on to that.
Yes. Fine.
Okay. The next morning, Joe is extra happy because, of course, he got what he wanted.
He sure did.
Mm-hmm.
But not all of it.
Were you happy about this? The fact that they actually consummated their relationship at this point?
No, it bothered me because he got what he wanted without adhering to any of her boundaries. Although what also irritated me was because she keeps moving the goalpost.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, I'm not going to sleep with you until we're engaged and I'm in the States.
In the States.
In the States. And then until we're engaged.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden it just randomly happens in the mountains.
Right.
Okay.
I felt the same way exactly as you did, that somehow he's manipulated or maneuvered her to to bring the timetable forward, which was against her wishes. But she also had some say in this. She's not a simple person.
Mhm.
So she consented. Okay, great. That's her choice. But here was the clincher for me. The next morning, when they're interviewing and they're lying in bed, she says, "So now you cannot leave me."
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, is this your fear of abandonment speaking? Is she hoping that this very new physical connection between her and Joe is going to bind Joe to her more firmly? What exactly is the intent behind those words, "Now you cannot leave me"? And does that not betray somehow that she has done this sooner than she really actually wanted to?
I think they're both manipulating each other.
Oh, do
He
tell.
manipulated her into having sex, and she's using, okay, so he's using sex. Well, okay, he wants the sex. So he
Obviously.
manipulated the situation so he could get it.
Mhm.
I think she wanted it too, but she's using it in a way to get him to commit.
Yes.
So they're both manipulating each other
Okay.
with sex. You know what? This is the most perfect way to begin a relationship. It's an
It
excellent
is.
foundation
It
for
is.
a very, very successful relationship.
Yes, because
Congratulations.
what it establishes is that you completely trust one another, that you've built a solid friendship as a foundation first, that you're not using one another for any purpose whatsoever except for companionship, love, friendship, and you admire each other so much that you are completely secure and content in the presence of that other person, that you don't need any extraneous things like sex, for instance. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
Okay. So all of that was complete nonsense. This is not the way to start a relationship, a sexual relationship especially. These people are both coming at it from their own distinct insecurities, right? She's got an insecurity about being abandoned, so she wants to get into the sexual part of the relationship as quickly as possible in order to seal the deal. He cannot leave her.
Oh, I just have a thought.
Oh, share.
Oh, no. Oh, God.
Oh,
Did
you
they
have
use
to
a
say it
condom?
now. Oh my God. I didn't even think of that. I don't know. Yeah, if that's a possibility. We don't know. When nobody talked about the protection that was used, if any.
Sorry for interrupting. That just
No, that's a good interruption. I appreciate that. Anyway, so that was Magda's inspiration for going through with this so quickly when she said she wasn't going to before. And then of course Joe, well, we know that Joe just wants to get to the sexual part because he wants to see about the compatibility. I got to give him that. Like I firmly believe that you should engage in a sexual relationship before you decide to make it as something as serious as an engagement or a marriage, because you want to make sure you're on the same page there as well.
you're compatible. Yeah.
Yes, but I don't feel for Joe in particular that this is his motivation. I think he just wants to milk the cow, right?
No.
Yeah. Anyway, even though they did all this, he still hasn't told her about Jill. Come on, John.
Because
Come on.
it's not important. He didn't think that she would care. Am I right? Even though this has been going on for how many episodes?
Yeah.
And he's like, I haven't told her because I know she's going to lose it. And, just to repeat what his friend said, don't be stupid, Joey. And yet he does nothing but be stupid about it.
The only not stupid thing about it was that they did it over mini donuts. I totally approve of the mini donuts.
I had to rewind to figure out what that was. I thank God for the subtitles again. Mini donuts. Oh, I have never seen donuts so tiny. And what flavor?
I know, my mind was all there as well. I was like, cinnamon, sugar, probably something simple, but yet delicious.
It looked more like chocolate, like a cocoa powder or something. It was dark.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yes, we're getting sidetracked.
Yes.
He decides to talk about this over the mini donuts, which, as I said, is a perfect softening landing. It would have worked for some people, maybe not for Magda. After he tells her what he came there to tell her, which is that he is still friends with Jill, his ex, he immediately goes on the backpedaling track. He immediately tries to minimize the lie that he's just revealed. He attempts to squirm out of it by saying, "Oh, I didn't know it would be such a big deal to you."
It's not
lie. Lie.
And
lie.
this is the reason why you haven't told her at all. up until this point.
Not only that, but remember when they were back in Warsaw when they went to visit the salt mine? And this was right at the beginning of his trip. And he promised Magda that he didn't have anything else that he was hiding from her. Remember
And
that?
we laughed about him laughed at him at that point
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. And Magda for sure hasn't forgotten about that. She mentions it. And then, moreover, she mentions another instance a few months ago when he lied to her by saying, well, she had specifically asked about his female friends and whether he'd slept with any of them. And he lied. Bad boy, Joe. Bad boy. He definitely has a problem with lying.
Mm-hmm.
And is this going to be such a big deal, such a big issue for Magda that they break up over it? That's really the question.
Probably not,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe.
I think the other side of the equation for Magda is heavy enough that it will outweigh the wrongs that Joe has done in the past.
Well, because she's still with him and she's already caught him in so many different lies. And now she's had sex with him and now she can't leave.
Yeah.
But who knows what other lies he is, or what other secrets he has, what other lies he's going to tell. I don't know if it's going to matter because I think, like, in the end, the only thing that she wants is the green card. She wants to be married and she wants to have a family. So I don't know if this is going to be enough to do it. But I thought it was interesting when she starts exploding at him and she says that she sacrificed her job for him.
Mm-hmm.
The job that you quit without telling him, without having a conversation with him, but you quit your job with the intent of moving to the U.S. as soon as you possibly can. You didn't sacrifice anything for him. You sacrificed it for yourself. And I wouldn't even really call it a sacrifice. I would just, don't be stupid, Magda. But there she goes and she quits her job.
She probably wanted to quit. She probably wasn't happy in her job. And it was a convenient excuse for her to use I'm going to be soon moving to the United States to be with Joe, for her to quit and to just move in with her mom and not do anything until such time as she has permission to move to the U.S.
Maybe this was her time to begin adjusting to being a stay-at-home wife before she becomes a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
Just getting used to it at the ripe old age of 23.
Oy. Magda is so upset when Joe tells her this stuff that she tells him that he has to choose between her and Jill, which is amazing.
You know what?
Not in a good way. Not in a good way.
You know what this made me think of?
What?
Is Jill the new Rory? You may have one of us. You cannot have both.
Yeah. And it sounds like the friendship with Jill is completely platonic. When he mentions that they're brother and sister, I was like, okay, Joe, if you really want to make an impact, say those words exactly to Magda, brother and sister. That's the kind of relationship we have right now, because I think that would go a long way to appeasing and assuaging her fears.
I don't think so. I think she's hanging her hat on the fact that they had sex at some point.
Okay.
And she even said in one of the interviews, she's like, I'm not even mad that he's still friends with her. I'm just mad that
he lied.
All about the lies.
She's very upset about the lie.
I don't think that that's true. I think she would have been pissed about it no matter when he told her. But I think now the lie is the biggest issue.
Yeah, it's definitely compounding her anger and giving her more reason to be upset with him, because it's not one issue now, it's two issues. It's lying plus you're friends with an ex. So jealousy and lying or betrayal. We see Magda, she's starting to spiral in her anger. She says she wants to stop talking about it, but she can't stop talking about it. And there's nothing that Joe can say at this point in time to bring her back from this place where she's lost all of her trust in him. She says to him, I'm done, quite definitively, though no doubt I'm sure Joe is going to try to worm his way out of this mess through more of his goofy grins, his goofy expressions, and his lavish presence. But the last thing we see is that she enters the bedroom, closes the door behind her. She's in there by herself with her dog. And that's a very clear signal. Leave me alone. Stay away. She's mad for now. Shall we read on to Loren and Faith, or is there more to say about the Polish princess?
My last comment is she's jealous, possessive, unpredictable, and impulsive. And that's exactly why he didn't tell her to begin with. And he's also afraid of her.
He is. He is afraid of her, but he's also not mature enough to have a reasonable, honest adult conversation with another adult.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
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 Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Let's move on now, please.
Yes. Loren and Faith. Well, Faith is in tears. She's walking out of the hotel where she and Loren were supposed to have their final romantic evening together. And meanwhile, Loren realizes, at long last, that he's upset Faith. He shouldn't have done the things that he did.
Oh, no.
Which she took as aggression, but now it's far too late to do anything about it. No, he's not going to chase after her.
Because he's done nothing wrong.
Oh, well, he seems to be contrite, but I feel like it's not real. It's not really how he feels.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not surprised that he doesn't go after Faith, since I think a part of him knows that the jig is up. She's figured him out. She's sussed him out. She knows who he is. But I also think the reason why he doesn't go after her is because he's basically somebody like Rob who puts in minimal effort. So it's just too much work at this point. He's not going to even try. Either way, I'm very happy that he doesn't go after her because she deserves so much better, as we have said over and over again. One of the things that he says that he's been telling Faith all along the course of their relationship is, I just want you to be happy. And I thought to myself, well, is there actually an example that I can think of something, a moment when Loren tried to make Faith happy? And I couldn't come up with anything. All I could think of were examples of times when he tried to not make her upset or to make her less upset, which is entirely different from making somebody happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that that was very telling as well.
I think the only thing that I can think of that could even remotely be considered as something that he did to make her happy would have been to put the ring in that little trick pouch thing. That's it. But also he did that to benefit himself, because that put him in a better position than had he just been like, here's a ring.
Yeah, and the whole proposal was really for him because he wanted to move to the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
And while he's contemplating the fact that he's tried to keep her happy all the time, sure you have, Loren, Faith is listing off all of the things that Loren did wrong, or all of the things that went wrong while he's been in the Philippines, or that surprised her while he was visiting. And there are so many things on this list.
Go Faith.
I have nothing to say about that. She wonders, has she been used? Was she supposed to be the ticket for Loren to move to the Philippines? And you and I have our opinions about this. We'll never know the truth, obviously, because I'm sure Loren would deny it, but it does feel like that was his main purpose in targeting her specifically. And very sadly, Faith wonders if she's wasted her time with Loren, which is so heartbreaking to hear. But you have to look at the positive, right? So these kinds of experiences, there's always an important lesson to be learned, even though it's heartbreaking, even though it's difficult. And I think for Faith, the lesson might be something like paying more attention to the red flags and to not give somebody so many chances once they've disappointed you once, twice, 3 times.
Once they've shown you who they are.
Who they are. Yes. Amen to that. I'm very happy that she's finally seeing Loren for who he truly is. She's finally seeing clearly now.
Mm-hmm.
Though admittedly, yes, it's going to be a difficult path for her to walk because she has invested so much in him. And now she's heartbroken.
But these are great lessons for her to learn, because Loren was her first boyfriend. So why don't we learn all the things that we can possibly learn from this relationship and just ensure that it doesn't happen again?
Mm-hmm.
Now you know what to watch out for. And you know that you're better than that. And I just kept yelling at the TV, like, none of this is your fault.
Mm-hmm.
I felt so bad for her, but I was so proud of her for leaving.
Did you think that on his way to the airport, when Loren decides to stop in at the hotel where Faith works to see her one last time to say goodbye, that they were going to rekindle, that there was going to be a reconnection?
No.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think so at all. I got like Brian vibes from that thing. Oh, I want to see you one more time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to apologize about anything, even though he did say something like, okay, maybe it was a bit weird, but we built a real relationship. No, you did not. None of this was built on honesty.
He did apologize, but he just said, I'm sorry. And I loved that she followed up with, what are you sorry for?
Yes.
To make him specifically list out the things. Now, his list was a little bit wishy-washy. I didn't really buy
Very
most.
wishy-washy.
Didn't buy it. But at least the words came out of his mouth. I'm sorry. That's something. And Faith confirms that she's done. The relationship is over.
It's too late now because it's over. Glorious.
There was no hug goodbye, which says so much to me. She is not at all comfortable with him anymore. And I wondered, was she ever? And I guess maybe she was at the point when they went to the romantic hotel, because that was going to be their night to be intimate together for the very first time. And yet that fell apart so quickly, so easily. So was it even real? Was her trust in him even real? It was so tenuous that it just took those few little actions that he did to completely destroy her and send her out.
I think it was really weak to begin with, the trust that she did have for him. But again, she kept overlooking all of the things. But with him being so strange, with the knife and the crushing the cans, like that was too much for her. It was too aggressive, and that scared her.
Yeah.
And she needed to run away. And I'm so proud that she did.
Me too. I think a round of applause for Faith is called for. Well done, Faith. We salute you. Any last notes on Faith and Loren?
Yes.
Proceed.
He said something to the effect of, now that I've lost her, I have nothing. And I'm like, you are nothing. You have nothing. And you didn't have anything before. And even if you could argue that possibly he did have faith for a period of time, but you lost that because of you, because of your actions, because of your behavior, because of your attitude. You're a despicable human being. Be gone. That's how I feel about that.
Righty then. Vanja? Yep.
Yes.
We're still in Croatia. It's the last morning before Vanja leaves. She and Josko are talking honestly about their expectations. They're very clear. How do they feel now? What might they do in the future? I'm still a huge fan. I think that they work so well together. There's good communication. There's openness. Then Josko takes Vanja to the airport, which is lovely. I love it when boyfriends do that for their girlfriends. Such a thoughtful gesture. So simple. And he's crying along with her in the car even, which to me signals emotional honesty and openness, vulnerability. Love it. Great. And then this goodbye that they have at the airport was such a stark contrast with her arrival when she met with Bojo, remember? How distant he was, the stupid plant that he had, how reluctant he was to be affectionate with her. There was no kiss, nothing. And this goodbye that she has with Josko is touching. It's close. There's tears. There's emotion. There's everything that you would hope it would be. And he's even telling us, to the camera, that he thinks that he can see himself being married someday to Vanja. All signals green. Go. Proceed.
They're definitely meeting each other on the same page. I'm still slightly concerned because this is a lot in a very short period of time, but they're on the same page. So I was still hopeful.
Then we switched to 2 months later with Vanja back in Florida.
Before we get there. So they did spend the night together on her last night there. And I was like, go Vanja. And then she's like, but we didn't sleep together. I was like, go Vanja. Because again, she's holding her boundaries. She's being true to herself. And the way that she explained it to the cameras as to why she didn't sleep with him was just so beautiful and so healthy. We just wanted to spend time together and, talk and just be together. And, we can do that without having sex. And I thought it was just so beautiful, so mature. I was so proud of her for doing that and for explaining it in that way. It was very proud of her.
Yeah, I have nothing but admiration for this woman. All right. 2 months later, Josko came to Florida to visit Vanja for 10 days. And while he was there, Vanja took lots of videos. So we get to see a few clips from those, what they did.
My favorite clip.
Yeah. In the kitchen?
No.
Okay.
That was my second favorite clip.
Okay.
My favorite clip was of her running to him at the airport when she had her hands up and she's like, "Ooh." It was so cute. And just so, like, I felt her genuine excitement.
Mhm.
And it was just a hilarious thing.
It feels and it seems like it was a magical trip all around.
Mhm.
They were finally intimate, their connection grew, things got more serious. But Vanya's speaking in the past tense, and she says finally that her heart was broken. That's all we get to know in this episode. It's very frustrating, very tantalizing, all at the same time. Sure, we're going to get more details next week as to what actually transpired, but it was not good. Something
was
bad
not.
happened when he went back to Croatia after this 10 days of bliss in Florida. I have a sinking feeling that I met somebody in Croatia.
Oh, see, I thought it had something to do with the adoption of the kid. He can't leave the country with the kid.
See, I think that if it was that, she would have made everything happen in order for her to go to Croatia again to see him.
You're right. And he didn't say, we can't be together because of the kid. He just said, I don't think that we can be together.
Yeah. Oh, it just feels so awful.
And the thing that bugged me even more was he was there for 10 days.
Yep.
He's a foster parent to a 1-year-old child. Who's watching this kid?
I don't know. And that question came up for me as well when we were watching the previous episode, and she spent basically 3 days with Josko, 2 nights, 3 days. And I thought, who in the heck is doing this? And the only thing I could really come up with that maybe a very reasonable answer is his mom. Maybe
entirely
she's
possible.
nearby. Yeah. Are you ready to read on?
Yes, please.
Niles and Matilda. Oh, it is the lovely wedding day at last. Well, I guess it was the wedding day before, but this is the wedding event itself. We start off with Niles, who is having a bit of not a meltdown exactly, but an emotional crisis of sorts, because he says, I don't think that I should have to decide between my parents' love and my love of Matilda, which absolutely you should not have to choose between those two things. It's such an incredible shame that his parents aren't even a little bit open to the idea of supporting Niles in his marriage to Matilda. He's so visibly distraught. No wonder not having your parents on your side must be incredibly upsetting, incredibly difficult to go ahead with this marriage that you're so excited about, that you've invested so much time and love and emotion into, and that they've rejected his bride even before getting to know her. They haven't even given her the chance to speak to them, which is awful. They're not supporting him in this gigantic milestone of life of getting married. It's absolutely awful. But it speaks really well to Niles' character, to his strength, that he goes through with it, that he holds his head up high. He's got Mr. Ark, he's got Mrs. Ark, he's got Matilda, and he knows that he loves her. He's confident in his love of her so that he's able to go through with the wedding. It's really, I was quite touched by it.
I share the same sentiments. I thought it was heartbreaking the way that he described that about, having to choose between his parents and Matilda, but the fact that he actually went through with it, I was so happy for him because I know that this is what he wanted, what he needed, and he didn't let his parents stop him. And I'm really, really glad that he didn't let that happen because if he just went home and he's like, no, you're right. Like, we don't know anything about his parents. Are they controlling? Are they not? Whatever. If they are controlling, if he doesn't marry her and he goes back, then that validates their control over him. Or maybe it'll validate the fact that, he's not ready to get married to his parents. Not married to his parents, but it would validate to his parents that he's not ready to get married. So they were right, but they were not right.
Nope.
Niles goes through with it. It was very, very exciting.
I have a couple of points that I want to make before we get to the actual knocking ceremony and the wedding ceremony straight afterwards. First, kudos to Matilda. She pulled it off. She got this wedding together so quickly. Amazing. She's come such a long way from the lavish wedding that she was initially trying to force Niles into giving her. So that, I think, speaks well of her ability to compromise. Thought that was wonderful.
Yep. We don't see that a lot in these relationships on the show anymore. So that was so great. Though she did complain about the timeline,
Yes.
I had a day to put this together. I was like, Matilda, you were ready to get married the day after Niles got there with, 200 people? So you were ready for this. You knew it was happening.
She did have some prep work done beforehand.
To be fair, that was still probably very, very stressful, but she did a great job pulling it together. I just wanted to poke at the fact that she was ready for it to begin with, and then she's complaining about it. But I think she was just super stressed out, and that's just how it came out.
Duly noted. Okay, so we have the second point that I wanted to make is having to do with Mr. Ark. He arrives with his wife and the money for the knocking ceremony, which is fantastic.
I'm prepared.
Mr. Ark has some choice advice on sex for Niles.
Very excellent advice.
I had no idea this was part of the ceremonial process. However, Niles survives this explicit and unsolicited advice.
And private.
Very well. Very private. I don't understand where Mr. Ark gets the notion that Americans overwhelmingly are in favor of anal sex.
Well, I think this episode was a really awful episode to show this part in, because what do we see? But we see Joey, an American.
Yes,
like,
I thought of that.
The only thing he wants is anal. So I think the editors did an excellent job of including it all into this one episode. So it supports Mr. Ark's assumption, even though obviously Joey is not every single man in America. I just thought that was absolutely hysterical. I was like, anal again? Twice in one episode?
I stand corrected. Mr. Ark had every reason to give this advice to Niles, and it was absolutely pertinent.
Oh, and to clarify for our listeners who haven't actually seen the episode, Mr. Ark tells Niles that he is not allowed to perform anal on Matilda because that's not part of their culture. That is completely off limits. The best part about it was he said it right in front of his wife. She was there. She was like, yes, it's true. That's not a thing for us.
He has to even specify only vaginal sex. It's like, what other place would there be? You've already mentioned the back door. The front door would be the only other way, would there not? I mean, call me an innocent, but it was just a hysterical moment for me, I think for everybody, even for Niles, who was laughing about it.
I think Niles just really wanted to crawl under a rock at that point.
It was amazing that he kept a straight face throughout this scene.
Because I didn't.
And armed with this essential information, Niles and his so-called parents, or stand-in parents, go to the ceremony and everything begins. Do you want to make any comment on the traditional robes that were worn by many of the guests?
They look billowy.
Okay.
I think that's all I got from that. I was stuck on that anal part for quite a while.
You couldn't see the clothes?
No, why would he feel the need to say it? Is this a thing? What has Mr. Ark seen that has encouraged him or that has made it a necessity to advise Niles?
Where is the fatherly advice to compromise, to not go to bed angry, to listen to each other, to always laugh, to go for walks, to have fun together? No, it's you can't have anal sex. Huh? Excuse me? What?
And again, Matilda did say that Mr. Ark is a strange man, and he continues to live up to that.
It certainly does. 100%. Going back to the clothes, thought that the men wore really interesting robes, very, like you said, billowy. But I was caught up in the patterns, and I was thinking about Kobe and how there was significance to the patterns that he and his family were wearing, and the colors and everything. And I wanted to know more about that, but we didn't have time to go into those details. So the ceremony itself is quite sweet. Niles does so well, given there were so many things that he had to do that he had no knowledge of beforehand. He had to give impromptu speeches. A man with autism had to give impromptu speeches. He had to say impromptu vows And he did so well.
in front of that many people. And you could see how flustered he was when they kept telling him to speak up, speak up. Like, come on, Niles, you can do this. But it seemed as though, like, once he started it and he looked at her, and then it just became the two of them, and he was able to just speak to her from the heart. And I felt that. He did such a great job.
Yeah.
You could really, really tell how much they love each other.
Absolutely. I adore this couple. I have good, high amount of faith in them.
And we haven't mentioned this yet, but Matilda looked absolutely breathtaking. She's a gorgeous woman.
Yes.
As she is, no makeup, no nothing. But when she walked out, I was like, wow, you look amazing.
I was impressed by the fact that she was wearing a corset and that she could actually breathe and withstand and not just kind of say, stop, everybody, I got to get this thing off me. She went through the whole ceremony, even the ride back to the city, which must have taken them ages, while wearing a corset that was so tight she could barely breathe. Amazing. If we can move on to the part where they're on their way back to the hotel, Niles says to Matilda, I have my wife, my video games, and my laptop. Everything I need. I thought that was so sweet. It's very simple, but I mean, I could add a whole other list of things to that. But if Niles is happy, then who cares? Who am I to question his list? His wife, his video games, his laptop. That's all he needs.
Such a stark difference from what we saw earlier in this episode with Joey.
Oh, don't make me mad. I'm in a happy place right now.
No, I'm fully supporting Niles, and I'm adding that to show just how incredible this man is. Obviously, Joey isn't anywhere close to being the man that Niles is. Just a stark difference between lust and greed and manipulation versus like just genuine, pure love. It was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Their love was just palpable.
Niles and Matilda drive off for their wedding night. And when they arrive at the hotel, they kick the camera crew out of their room before they can even enter.
I loved that.
Good luck, you two. Go have fun.
Well, how many times have we seen the camera crew come in and it's so awkward because, they're starting and then they kick the camera crew out. But Niles, so respectful. You're not even coming in. You get out. There's no time. And also Matilda's probably like on the verge of passing out. He's got to get out of that corset. And then my last comment was, there's just a lot of sex in this episode.
Should be a good thing, shouldn't it?
It's different.
Okay. It's a thing.
It is, but it's a good pace. We're at what, episode 18 now? It's
Let's read on with Vanja and Sunny.
This is so stupid.
It is. Shall we explore the stupidity? Let us start.
All right.
Okay, first of all, Sunny was going to propose, but now he knows that Vanja won't convert, so he says he's not going to propose.
Why would you buy a ring to propose to a woman who you know is not Muslim, knowing full well that your father would never approve of you marrying a Muslim woman, or a non-Muslim woman? And he even says, I have to marry a Muslim woman. So if it's that important to you, why didn't you say it from the very beginning or at any point throughout her visit? Why would you buy a ring?
I have my theories. I'm going to save them for the end, okay?
I have so many questions.
Me too.
And especially because the way that he says it, but even, he's a flimsy kind of dude when it comes to his religion. But if this is a non-negotiable, you need to talk about this from the very beginning. It's like so many other couples that we've seen, with religion, with moving, with having kids, all of those things that you need to talk about before you get married.
Yeah.
And yet he buys a ring anyway. So, sorry, please continue.
Sunny describes this circumstance that he finds himself in as the situation she put me in. She did not do this.
She's not
did by keeping it a secret until now that you would not marry anybody who was not Muslim.
Nah, but he would sleep with her.
Oh, yeah, he would many times.
Mm-hmm.
Vaya says she doesn't know where Sonny's head is at. How is this possible after the talk that they had last night? How? He gave her an ultimatum. You have to convert or we can't be together. I don't know where his head is at. Huh? Oh, so let's just go straight to my theory because I can't really hold on to this any longer.
Okay, spit it out.
This is deliberately misleading. The production crew has intervened because he gave her an ultimatum. They're both acting as if things will work out. What? The actual frog. There's no way. If this was real, if you were really in this situation, this would have been the end. Point final at that moment. We can't, it's a stop. It's a strike. You can't proceed.
It should be. However, we don't know what happened behind the scenes. He's been wishy-washy this entire time about his religion.
Yeah.
So I don't think she could have anticipated that, he would come out with this. And at the same time, maybe he'll get over it.
He'll get over his religion? Like, it's so far-fetched.
Yeah, but he did it in order to sleep with her.
I know, but that's why I'm saying it's a fabrication. It's a storyline because it was never real to begin with. They're both playing along with this narrative that he can't actually marry somebody who isn't Muslim. Despite what the friends say, despite what the father says, because I'm sure that is all accurate. I don't think the production's influence would extend quite that far. But for Vaya and for Sonny themselves, Vaya has seen how much he's compromised already on his religion. He drinks, he sleeps with her. He's not allowed to do either of those things. And she has been told all of this time before that she came to Durban that it wasn't a big deal to him that she wasn't Muslim. So the fact that this all of a sudden, just the night before, not during the first part of her visit to Durban, but now, a couple of nights before she's leaving, he says to her, you have to be Muslim. I have to admit this. Where does that come from? Why now? What? No, it's not real. It's fake. And it's especially fake in light of what happens next. Because when they go on this beautiful hike to the waterfall, it's a perfect setup for a proposal. Anybody can see that. And then he says, oh, I'm going to give up everything and everyone in order to be with you without you having to convert. I'm willing to give up my family, my friends, all of the things in my life that would reject her for not being Muslim in order to be with her.
And he also says, I will allow you to be who you are.
Oh, that was painful.
Like, okay, so you're going to give it all up. And yet here is this underlying doctrine of your religion.
I will allow you.
I, as a man, will allow you, as a woman, to be who you are.
No, just
and
no.
And then in the cutaway interview, he's like, she'll change her mind. So now he just wants to get married with the expectation that she's going to convert. And he's going to hang this over her head.
Yes.
For the rest of their, I'd say lives, but their relationship. When are you going to convert?
Absolutely.
You haven't converted.
He can say, I was willing to give up everything, my family, my friends, my life, everything for you. And so now it's your turn.
There's so many common themes among the couples for this episode, because she also says, so first of all, they're so immature, the two of them together. They're young, not very smart. And then she's like, well, you can't break up with me now because I have a ring. Just like when Magda said, you can't break up with me now because we've had the sex.
Yeah.
All right.
I was so uneasy when he said to her after he proposed and she accepted, there's one condition, which is that Vaya, you have to be with me forever. And he says that a number of times. It's not just once. And it just made me feel so uneasy. Is it his insecurity in their relationship? Or is he actually afraid of cutting himself off from everyone he knows, with the exception of Vaya and probably Rory as well? Is it something else? Why is there this condition? And like you said, is he going to hold this over her for the rest of their relationship in the expectation that she's going to have to reciprocate at some point and finally cave and become Muslim?
And then
And
he'll get his family back. So he's only giving
yeah,
his family up for, a short
yeah,
period of time. But
yeah.
she has to commit to being with him forever because he can't chance losing his entire family for her for the rest of his life. Forever for
For
him.
It's really crazy. And I I don't think Sonny has any concept, if this is to be taken at face value, if he is actually going to give up his family and his friends for Vea. Does he really understand how difficult it's going to be for him to let go of all of those people, all of those relationships, while they are still pressuring him to be with a Muslim woman, to not abandon them for the sake of being with Vea, who is not Muslim, who was tattooed, for heaven's sakes.
Oh no.
Disgusting. I, I I really feel like he doesn't comprehend what he's saying, and that's especially evident when they're in the car and they're on their way back to Durban, when he suggests that their relationship, their engagement, remain a secret for now. Always a great sign, don't you think? Love
Love
it.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Love that for both of them. But I appreciated the fact that she said we can't go into this lying. We have to be honest
Yeah.
with your family.
Yeah.
I thought that was very, very great of her. But then he's like, so first of all, good luck getting your dad's approval for this. This is never going to happen. Your dad's going to disown you, if not kill you for his honor
Ooh.
immediately.
Mm-hmm.
But he says, okay, but you have to be my umbrella,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
means you be my shield when my dad starts throwing those daggers.
Mm-hmm.
This is your fault. You have to bear the brunt of this, not me. That's how I took it. You have to be my umbrella. You have to protect me, which is contradictory to, everything that his religion stands for.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to have your back, but to be the one who's in the front of the battle lines, no thanks. That's on you, man. This is your dad. You deal with him. He's your family. You deal with him. She will be there to support you, but she is not going to be your umbrella.
No.
I just thought that was so immature.
The reality of what Sonny's done is really starting to sink in on this drive home. And I think it's abundantly clear that he doesn't, in fact, want to be disowned by his family or his friends. He really should have thought this through a little bit more before proposing. Again, how much of this is production? How much of it is true? I don't know. I can't really get a sense of. But what is really, really clear is that these guys are both incredibly young, not exactly experienced, and really should have taken more forethought before they acted. It doesn't really bode well for how things are going to go for these two in the future.
I agree. I'm not quite sure how much production was involved because obviously Vea is very, I don't want to use the word sensitive, fragile. Thank you. Just based on, her past and the amount of trauma that she's been through, I would like to think that production wouldn't be playing on that because I don't know if she would have the emotional ability to play that role, So I'm not entirely sure about that, but this is a dumpster fire. Next week, when they meet up with his dad, first of all, I'm very disappointed that we have to see that man again. I don't want to hear a damn word that comes out of his mouth, but we'll see what happens, I guess.
Yeah, well, speaking of next week, they go to meet Sonny's dad. He's got his own ultimatum to deliver to the couple. Priceless. For the other couples, we see that Matilda asks Niles why he was fired from his job. I don't know why this would be controversial, but okay, let's hear the answer.
Maybe they just need to fluff out
everything.
That just reminds me. Where was the food?
I know I'm disappointed we didn't get to see the food at the wedding, but maybe the couple was just in such a rush to get to their matrimonial suite that they decided to forego the feast. In any case.
Okay, anyway.
Vanja is going to reveal what happened with Josko, which I'm dying to hear. Joe is going to deal with the aftermath of his very poor decision making. And Tiger Lily, oh sweet, innocent Tiger Lily, she's not happy about Adnan and his desire to control her finances. Wow. When will she ever wake up and smell the coffee? Please.
I'll say it now. I feel no pity for this woman.
Certainly not somebody who has to change or find some kind of alternative child car seat for her Lamborghini. No pity here.
No, she's going to have to get another car because the 3-car seats are not going to fit in her Lambo. Okay, great. Happy for you.
Good.
Why don't you let a 20, how old is he? 22, 23?
Something like that.
Early 20s. Yeah, you're going to let him touch your money.
Good. Yeah, sure, why not?
Okay, great.
On a happier note, just let's wish everybody a happy new year, as that is tomorrow. Wow.
Yeah.
Happy 2025, everybody.
Happy 2025. I just realized today that tomorrow was New Year's Eve. I have made no plans. I have done nothing.
Me either. It's fine. Before we go, if you're enjoying the 90 Day Fiancé Honestly podcast, please subscribe to or give our show a follow. And if you have an additional moment, please rate us and help other 90 Day fans to find our show. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.
See you next week.